live and direct from the Golden State. It's intelligent talk media, The Denice Gary Show. Now, here's Denice Gary.
Welcome to the Denice Gary Show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that all of you have had a great day and will have a wonderful evening. But I want to start with some serious information with respect to the fires. Right now in Chico, California, authorities are searching the blackened aftermath of this horrific California fire. And according to this report, 80 people are still missing. We need to keep them in our thoughts and prayers and pray for their immediate rescue. 80 people are still missing in Chico, California. Right now, the death toll is up at 48. So again, let's pray that these 80 souls that are still missing in California are found, and let's say a prayer that they're found healthy, that they're okay, that they're going to survive this horrific fire. Yesterday we talked about a class action suit against PG&E. I share with you information about how President Trump wants to regionalize the grid here in the California area to include a few other states and include coal and nuclear facilities to drive down the cost of electricity here for the ratepayers, you and I, that have to pay these high electric bills. And I said to you that the state of California, the state legislature, the Democrats passed legislation upping yours and my PG&E bill, and Jerry Brown signed it. You can expect more of that since the majority of Californians, again, re-elected Democrats to take over the state legislature and to fill the seats in the executive branch of the state government. And here in this report, I just saw this today, victims of California's most destructive wildfire have filed a lawsuit accusing PG&E, or Pacific Gas and Electric Company, of causing this massive blaze. Says the utility's president, the president of PG&E, said earlier that the company doesn't know what caused the fire, but he's cooperating with state agencies to get to the bottom of it. But of course, I share with you an email that had gone back and forth with respect to this, indicating that PG&E was notified that there were problems with its equipment. So again, let's just, if you are somebody that understands the president's proposal, please get in touch with me. I have a new email address specifically for this show. So all emails related to the Denice Gary broadcast, please go to the Denice Gary Show at gmail.com. Send me your information, send me a brief biographical synopsis. Let's get you on air to talk about the president's idea to drive down the cost, because the Democrats here in California, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they don't further increase the taxes, the rate that we will have to pay to PG&E to keep them afloat, since again there are several individuals that have already apparently filed lawsuits accusing PG&E of negligence. Okay, moving on. We got some more information about the elections here in California. Republicans lost another seat last night to Democrat Josh Harder. Democrat Harder defeated the Republican incumbent Jeff Denham. You say, how did that happen? Because the 10th Congressional District is considered, it's been it's been a more conservative, it's been a red district, but Denham irritated the conservatives because he favored a very liberal immigration policy. He wanted a discharge position. He led an effort to file a discharge petition that would bypass the House of Representatives leadership and force a floor vote on some liberal immigration laws that the conservatives in his district did not appreciate, so I guess they didn't bother to come out and vote for him. And so, but then in the end, he raised the issue of water here in California, which was good, and he led the opposition. He led the opposition against the Democrats. The Democrats here in the state of California proposed something called the Bay Delta Plan. So the Democrats' Bay Delta Plan would divert water from farms to help boost the fish population. Remember the smelt, it's about what, an inch maybe an inch or two. They're an inch or two long, and you know, they're more important than farmers in the water they need to grow food for you and I. Gotta make sure the smelt are taken care of. So the Bay Area Delta Plan, again, that diverts water from farmers to help fish populations, is being backed by the Democrats, and Denham led an effort against that, but apparently it wasn't enough. One good thing I want to say that I'm really pleased about is Young Kim. She's a Korean American, and she held her seat. She's in the 39th Congressional District in Orange County, and she barely held on to it, but she did. California takes a long time to count their votes, but at any rate, I was very sorry to hear another Republican lost their seat, but it was his own fault. He shouldn't have gone liberal and taken a liberal progressive position on illegal aliens coming into the country. They're already many of them are already at the border. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it's up to you and I to convince the opposition, to convince the Latino population here in California that's voting for Democrats. And you know, we've got to take this seriously. And we've got to help them understand that they will make their lives harder. Their taxes will go up. They'll have a very difficult time making ends meet and putting food on their table. And mind you, a lot of these people coming in, and I know because they've been in my classrooms, you know, the adults have come into my classroom, and some of them have only had a 6th grade education. That's it. A 6th grade education, and they've come in here and they've taken advantage of taxpayer dollars to go to schools. You know, we provide free English education, reading, writing, and speaking. We provide years of free instruction to adults who are illegal immigrants who come into the United States of America. And I've talked about how these schools here in California need to charge legal and illegal immigrants a fee if they're going to sit in our classrooms, in adult education classrooms, as we teach them how to become fluent, to be able to write fluently and speak fluently, and nobody seems interested. Somebody needs to pick up the cause. Ladies and gentlemen, I share this information out. I hope there will be those of you that will take this seriously. And again, if you would like to speak to me, if you'd like to come on the program and address this issue, contact me at the DeniceGaryShow@gmail.com or send something to me on Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, the Denise Gary Show also has a Facebook page. You're always welcome to go there and post comments as well. Okay. Right now I want to get to an interview. An interview that, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to hear anyplace else. This is an exclusive. This is with the director of the Zionist Organization of America, but the director lives and works in Jerusalem, Israel. And he goes back and forth from Israel's capital city, Jerusalem, to Washington, D.C. And because there's always issues between the executive branch of government here in Washington and the Congress, issues with respect to national security, and of course issues with respect to Israel. And we try to work together with the only democracy in the region on strategic and tactical issues and policy decisions. And I was able to interview Director DAUBE this morning, very early this morning. We came into the studio. As you know, Israel's 10 hours ahead. And Israel has suffered the largest ever attack in a 24-hour period. They have received close to 500 rockets. And play that clip. I want you to hear. It's not probably going to be loud enough, but play that clip and I'll just keep talking. But can they hear it? So these sirens, I have an app. You'll hear me talk about it on the interview. I have a red alert app that tells me every time bombs fall in Israel. And they finally stopped last night. You'll hear a discussion all about the ins and outs. But, you know, I thought about these people in Northern California and in the Thousand Oaks area, more in Southern California. I thought about these horrific fires. But imagine that you're not only suffering in the midst, surrounded by a fire, but you are also having bombs. You're having rockets. You're having Qassam rockets, some of which have been built by Iran, landing in your child's school or at your child's nursery or at your work, or you're trying to pull together all your children as a parent, and you've got to rush to a shelter and you've got seconds to get there. And it's like, do you strap them into their car seat or not? I mean, you just have to get there because bottom line, you want to save their life. I mean, it's incredible to have almost 500 bombs land in southern Israel. That's like Southern California. So, you know, Israel's about the size of New Jersey. So think about bombs landing in your neighborhood and think about fires. Again, I'm thinking about these people in California. I think, thank goodness there aren't bombs falling all around them as well, destroying and killing others as also. I want to share with you that apparently this was an intelligence what happened was a special elite operators went into the Gaza Strip. They're always trying to monitor where these rockets are being launched from. So they're always on the ground on different selected missions, trying to gather intelligence information. An IDF Special Forces officer was killed. Another one was wounded. Details around this intelligence gathering operation are very sketchy, as you would expect, but apparently they encountered a Hamas unit, the Islamic Resistance Movement. They have an entire army, and they ran into this Hamas unit, and the Hamas unit understood that these were special operators from Israel's Special Forces. A battle ensued, and so this IDF officer was killed. Hamas said that the Israeli undercover forces that had come into the Gaza Strip in a civilian vehicle were able to infiltrate 2 miles. And again, this is important. United States does intelligence operations around the world. We try to gather information on what our enemies who seek to terrorize and launch Islamic terrorist attacks against the United States. This is something ongoing that we do as well. And of course, Israel and Israel's government's first responsibility is to protect its civilian population, just as under our own Constitution here in the U.S., the president's responsibility in the executive branch is to protect the United States citizens. So I want you to see this clip. Apparently this son, mother, you don't see the mother on the clip, you see the son, this young man, it was miraculous that he wasn't killed. We'll go to this clip of this brief interview, and then we'll go right into the interview. Again, you will not hear this on any other news network. You won't hear it. This is an exclusive report on what's been going on the ground inside Israel over the last few days. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned.
I'm with Shlomi Lanki, who was a resident of Ashkelon, who was actually here when the rocket hit this building, and he helped dig out a woman and also, unfortunately, the body of a man who was killed by this rocket attack.
בערך שעה וחצי אחרי האירוע, באתי לפה בשביל לצלם. תוך כדי שאני מצלם, עליתי כמובן למעלה לקומה האחרונה, שומע סוג של רעש. כמובן שהייתי לבד, אז משך אותי התשומת לב לאותו רעש. חשבתי זה חתיכת איזה פיסת נייר או איזה משהו, היה הכל חשוב. ואז באתי לתלוש את זה, בעצם נגעתי באצבעות של האישה. ואז הבנתי שיש פה מישהו בפנים, חפרתי, הוצאתי את האישה, תוך כדי איך שאני מוציא כבר, כמעט מוציא אותה לבסוף, ואז אני רואה את הגבר. כמובן הוא היה ללא רוח חיים, משהו כזה.
Shlomi Lanki, this guy, just another of the dozens of miracles that happened here. So just happened to be here and to save a woman's life.
President Trump has correctly stated that economic security is national security, and in the Tehachapi Mountains of Kern County resides a United States defense contractor, Anates Products. Here is the Silicon Valley of the aerospace industry, right here in East Kern. Anates Products is a forward-leaning manufacturer and distributor of hardware sold to major defense and aerospace companies. We're talking about Boeing, Lockheed Martin, United Technologies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon General Electric, and on the list goes, as well as to every United States ally worldwide, including Israel, America's most important strategic ally in the Middle East. And for everything that flies, Anates Products is providing the parts. And with me today is the president of Anates Products, Scott Baker. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
Scott, tell us why you believe this corner of Kern County is the hub of the aerospace industry.
Well, this portion of Southern California here out in the Antelope Valley, it contains, some of the most cutting-edge technology going on in aviation today. We have some of the UCAS programs with unmanned technologies going on. We have Edwards Air Force Base out here who's doing continual testing in their area. We have the Naval Weapons Station up there at China Lake doing some fantastic cutting-edge stuff, cruise missile technology, and those things are going on. We have Scale Composites locally doing a lot of composite technology, which is new. We have SpaceX, which is a private one, putting a private entity putting things into space now. This area is the growth center for aviation's future, and this is the area I think that as a nation we need to be concentrating some of our effort and taking this technology. And as we all know, with the space program from Apollo years ago, out of these technologies, we, the private sector, are going to reap some of the benefits of that.
Thank you, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Baker, president of Anates Products. Anates Products, located in the beautiful mountains of Tehachapi, California, in eastern Kern County, is home to some of the most innovative and specialized technologies in the world, including those at the U.S. Naval Air Warfare Center, Weapons Division at China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base, as well as Stratolaunch, launching satellites capable of delivering multiple orbits in a single flight to space. And it is Anates Products that has provided the manufactured devices, and the president, Scott Baker of Anates Products, Marine Corps veteran, reactivated on 9/11 to monitor threats to the homeland, is carrying on a tradition of providing for the security of the United States by manufacturing every kind of fastener on anything that flies, as well as providing a full testing destructive laboratory. Contact Anates Products, now in business for 30 years, at 661-822-6873. Located at 1314 Goodrich Drive in Tehachapi for your manufacturing and testing needs today. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the director of the Zionist Organization of America in Jerusalem. He's live for this interview. He's on the phone with me. We've seen and heard, of course, I have an app on my iPhone, and I've heard the sirens of almost 500 rockets. There's been over 400 rockets, Director DAUBE, that have landed in Jerusalem. You know it better than I do. You can see it, you can hear it, maybe you can even smell it. Director DAUBE, what's happening in Israel?
Well, Denise, there has been a lot going on here, but with regard to what's been going on in the south, there has been an unrelenting attack on our civilian populations. These aren't, let's say, strategically targeted military sites that our adversaries are going after. They are going after our civilian populations and the civilian facilities or communities, and it has resulted in an unprecedented amount of destruction, an unprecedented stress levels in those communities. They have to live day and night with the fear that they are going to be woken at any second and then have 15 seconds. Imagine, if you will,
15 seconds to get to a shelter. Wow.
15, not
Yes.
15 seconds to get to a shelter. Now think about this for a second. You have to sleep with your kids, because what you have to do is you have to gather the little ones up and rush them all. You can't afford to go to individual rooms and wake them and get them into what we call here the sealed rooms. The sealed rooms, by the way, sealed because we have been under the threat in the past of chemical weapons attack as well, so that they have to be airtight sealed. And so this is the challenge that these populations face down south. I, in fact, living in Jerusalem, have been considering going back to going to bed the way I did during the 2014 Gaza war, meaning going to bed with my shorts on, because here in Jerusalem, then the sirens sounded, and I had to just bolt out of bed and get down to our basement here. That's our shelter in our apartment building here in Jerusalem. So in general, we have been under an unprecedented degree of tension here. The government has been having difficulty figuring out exactly how to respond. There are any number of reasons for that difficulty. We can get into that if you would like. But, you know, this situation simply cannot go on like this.
Well, Hamas yesterday is claiming victory for over 400, almost 500 rockets landing inside Israel, bombing homes and people's communities, starting fires across southern Israel. So Hamas backers, I'm looking at an article and I watched the video of Muslim Arabs, Palestinians in the streets in Gaza supporting, quote unquote, the resistance movement of Hamas, the Islamic resistance, which is the name, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Hamas stands for the Islamic resistance movement. So these people are cheering in the streets, Jeff. They're calling this 2-day rocket barrage, 3-day rocket barrage, they're calling it a victory. That's incredible to me, and what's even more incredible to me is that the United States media has not reported what you just reported on the Denise Gary show, that the sealed rooms have to be airtight. This is the first time I'm hearing it. I didn't read it either, that Hamas and the Islamic Jihad in the Gaza Strip have doused or used chemical or biological agents in the rockets. That's horrible.
Let me just take that back a step to 1990-91. These sealed rooms were actually mandated because in 1990-91, Saddam Hussein, but we knew at that time he was in possession of chemical weapons.
Right.
He fired, I believe it was 39 Scud missiles that landed in Israel at the time. This was the major motivator for Israel to develop its extremely sophisticated
ballistic
missile or anti-rocket system. You know, we have the Arrow 3 system, which will intercept long-range ballistic missiles. We have the David Sling system, which intercepts intermediate-range ballistic missiles. And then we have the Iron Dome system, which intercepts the short-range rockets that are basically fired from non-state actors like Hamas. So these sealed rooms go back to those days, or originated in that conflict at that time. To date, although we know that they sometimes will, let's say, dope some of their balloons, some of their fire balloons with rat poison and all kinds of other toxic chemical substances. To date, there has been no full-on chemical attack on Israel. So
But nevertheless,
I just wanted to clarify.
No, yeah, that's
I'm sorry.
okay. No, I still think it's really important, though, that people understand that by dousing these incendiary devices, including rockets, that's horrific. I mean, a little infant breathes that in. I wonder what the long-term damage is, particularly to the lungs of children, if they breathe that in. I mean, that's serious.
I think we touched on this the last time we spoke, and I'm working with both a medical doctor and a famous epidemiologist. His name is Dr. Elihu Richter. He is affiliated with Ambassador Dory Gold's Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs think tank, and Elihu and I would like to look into some of the long-term repercussions of these attacks, because when these balloons or when these kites land with their incendiary devices, they set fields and they set forests on fire. And what has resulted from the particulates in the air being breathed in by either young children or people who are predisposed to pulmonary issues or the elderly is it's caused all kinds of conditions like ARDS, which is or RADS, which is reactive airway distress syndrome, and we see an uptick in asthma. By the way, Denice, you know that 40% of the Israeli children in the town of Sderot are suffering from PTSD. 40%, and this is because they have to go to sleep if they can go to sleep. If they can prevent themselves from becoming aneuritic as a result of all of this stress, this results from the fact that they are woken up in the middle of the night because Hamas will fire these rockets at particular times, either at the middle of the night or sometimes, very often I should say, when children might be going to or coming from school.
Okay, so they're deliberately targeting and working to destroy the family unit in Israel, and that's particularly, I think, cruel. And I can just imagine. I can just see parents trying to immediately load up their children in their arms or whatever maybe vehicle they have to try to get into the sealed room. A lot of them have to walk to an area in their neighborhood or in their community to get to that facility. And I'm sure that has created a tremendous amount of post-traumatic stress syndrome, not only in the children, but in the adults. And I'd like to challenge my audience, Jeff. I like them to think about waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and imagine what that would be like for you. You're thinking about getting ready for work. Your children have to get ready for school, and you've suddenly, your whole life is turned upside down, and you've got to run for a shelter. I don't know that anybody in America can really relate to that emotionally or mentally.
If you can, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
but
it's
if you
okay.
can, or if your audience can try to imagine what it would be like. You're a mother in your car, and you have two little ones in the back and two different car seats, and here the red alert alarm goes off. What do you do? Do you leave your kids unbuckled in their car seats? You have to leave your windows rolled down without the radio on in order for you to be able to hear the siren. And as you know, these communities are in the Negev Desert. Negev Desert, like any desert, is very, very warm, hot during the daytime, but as the sun goes down, the temperature drops and drops sporadically, but you have to leave the windows rolled down. What do you do? It's kind of like a Sophie's choice. Who do you say? Which kid do you take out first? Where do you run with them? You have to be constantly conscious of where Gaza is with respect to where you're driving, because you will have to take cover, take shelter in a place that if a rocket, God forbid, to fall near you, the shrapnel probably would go off in the opposite direction from where you are. So just try to picture what that would be like.
Why now? The windows of your vehicle need to be rolled down. Can't they hear the siren with the windows rolled up? I would think that they could. Is that not as possible to hear the sirens when the windows are rolled up? Is that the problem?
So sadly, I have been in Sderot and a couple of other communities down there where the red alert siren goes off, and there have been places where I've heard it loud and clear, and I could imagine they would hear it with the windows rolled up. But then there are other areas I've been in where the siren has been somewhat muted. So these parents have got to be literally on their toes and ready to go and move those kids out of those car seats in the back of a car on the drop of a dime.
Okay. Why? So Hamas is celebrating and calling this a victory. There's over 400, almost 500 rockets landing in southern Israel. They're calling it a victory. Why is this a victory to Muslim Arabs living in the Gaza Strip?
The reason why it's a victory because if anything less than total defeat for them is considered a victory. This happened in the Second Lebanese War, where even though Israel did manage to decimate large portions of the Hezbollah military infrastructure, they definitely ended up running away with their tail between their legs. As long as it isn't a total 100% victory for Israel, as long as they survive the Israeli retaliation for these attacks, they consider that a victory. We have lived to fight another day. That is a victory for them. So that's the reason why they characterize this as a victory.
Okay. Jeff, it says here they're saluting Izzadin al-Qassam brigades. Now that is the Hamas army. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And I understand that in Israel, senior Israeli officials, there's been a ceasefire, and I have to believe that at the moment my app on my phone has not gone off in the last several hours, at least during the night. I didn't hear the sirens coming from my iPhone, which is right next to my bed at night, and I didn't hear it go off. So it sounds like there is a temporary ceasefire, and some senior Israeli leaders are not too pleased about it. Islamic Jihad from the Gaza Strip, this is another terrorist group that operates in Gaza, has announced it wants to launch fresh rockets into Ashkelon there in southern Israel and turn the city into hell. Jeff, why is the senior leadership not too pleased about this ceasefire?
Well, they are not pleased about it. One reason is because the residents in southern Israel are not pleased about it. The residents in southern Israel who just demonstrated here in Jerusalem last week, before the latest outbreak rocket attacks may cease for a period of time, but when Hamas sees an opportune moment, they will increase again.
Right.
They do not want to go through this constant cycle of starting and stopping and having their daily routines, their lives disrupted like this.
Turned
they
upside
just cannot
down.
live like this. So
Right. They're having their
there's
lives
also-
turned upside down. They're
responding. A lot of these government officials, Victor Lieberman, who just today resigned as the defense minister because of this, Zev Elkin, Minister of Education Naftali Bennett, Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked, they are all very, very upset with this. They are basically responding to the needs of the Israeli residents in southern Israel, and they're saying that there has got to be much, much more resolute action taken against Hamas to deter them from future attacks.
Let's go back to your point. So Avigdor Lieberman, the defense minister for the state of Israel, has resigned his position because he's saying to the Prime Minister Netanyahu, people's lives have been turned upside down. It's constant. It's nonstop. We saw all throughout the summer Hamas terrorizing the civilian population in southern Israel. And so Lieberman is saying, we don't need another ceasefire. We need to be able to go in and attack terrorist targets inside the Gaza Strip and in this incessant war of attrition by Hamas, where every other week they're raining down rockets on Israel. Do I have that understood? Have I summarized that properly?
That's exactly correct. Lieberman said today that there is no path to an agreement with Hamas. We will not restore quiet and calm to the south without dealing the most, and I quote him now, the most severe blow we can, end quote. And that is the reason why he has resigned, and he has taken his Yisrael Beitenu faction with him. The Prime Minister still has the barest majority without them, but he just doesn't have that, let's say, that little wiggle room now that he has pulled his coalition. I'm sorry, he has pulled his faction from the coalition. Go ahead.
Why did the Prime Minister allow a negotiated ceasefire? Why did that happen so quickly? Why didn't he go ahead and authorize and allow for this opportunity after, I mean, we're talking almost 500 rockets landing in southern Israel. That's war. Why didn't he give the IDF more time to go in and take out all of the launching pads for these rockets? Minimally, at least take out the rocket launchers throughout the Gaza Strip. I imagine your intelligence sources know where these sites are located.
The intelligence sources know exactly where these sites are. In fact, when I'm down there, you can actually see some of the places from which they launched, like a community called Beit Lahia in the northern Gaza Strip. We can go to overlooks and actually look in, and if you're unlucky enough, you can actually view some of these launchings from within Israel. But there are any number of reasons, some of them speculative, as to why the Prime Minister has not given the green light to the IDF to go in there and get the job done in the manner in which they are capable of doing it, which needs to be done. One of them is a report, in fact, that I've gotten from a fairly reliable source, that the Trump administration has asked Israel to restrain itself. Given all of that, the Trump administration has done on behalf of Israel, and we can go through all of the achievements of the Trump administration now. It'll take us a little while to go through everything from the embassy on down to cutting funding to UNRWA, and I think to dismantle handling the PLO mission in Washington. If you'd like, Denice, I could go on. We owe the Trump administration a tremendous debt of gratitude, but the Trump administration would also like to roll out what they call their deal of the century, their peace deal. And there are some reports here in Jerusalem that the Trump administration has asked the Netanyahu government here to restrain itself. If the situation deteriorates in Gaza to a point which will bring in other players here, then it will be absolutely impossible to roll out this peace plan. The other reason, which people have come to understand that may underlie this whole restraint, is that Mahmoud Abbas, who is the leader of the Palestinian Authority in Judea Samaria, also known as the West Bank, would like nothing better than Israel to go in and to take out Hamas, to bring them down. And we don't want to be his proxy, so to speak. We do not want to, given let's say, the opposition and the difficulties that he has posed for us, we don't want to play his hand for him, and we don't want to, let's say, contribute anything to him taking over Gaza and then possibly imposing his rule there as well. It's bad enough that he is let's say, the ruler, I don't know for how much longer, but that he is the ruler in Judea, Samaria / the West Bank in the Palestinian Authority. But we would be doing his bidding for him if we were to take down Hamas. That's one of the other reasons why Israel has shown a great degree of restraint.
Israel has shown the kind of restraint that no other country on earth would show. I mean, if rockets were landing here in Southern California, I don't think President Trump would put up with it for a moment. And I really appreciate Defense Minister Lieberman's position. I don't know that I would, if I were him, I would have resigned from my post at a time like this, but I do believe that all of those rocket launch sites inside the Gaza Strip should be strategically carefully targeted, and all of them should be eliminated. The PLO under Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinians, the Muslim Arabs in Judea Samaria, will continue to commit acts of terror, just like Gaza will as well. I think at some point Israel's going to have to clean out the Gaza Strip because you have too many terrorist entities. I'm talking Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Qassam brigades. I mean, there are so many different terrorist entities running amok in the Gaza Strip. At some point, I do believe that Israel's got to take stronger action. I changed the subject here real quick because I just have like a few more minutes.
Can I just add one more?
Yes, please, but quickly.
Let's say consideration that has to be taken. Like Hezbollah up in Lebanon, Hamas has positioned much of their rocket launchers, their military assets, literally right next to or below civilian infrastructure, schools, hospitals, residential apartment buildings. So Israel is faced with this conundrum, with this Hobson's choice, if you will. Do we take out these launchers and their assets and then risk collateral damage and all of the opprobrium that will bring from the international community? Or do we lay off and avoid giving Hamas the public relations victory that they want? This is why Senator Ted Cruz had to introduce the Human Shields Act, very much because of what's going on down there. I just wanted to add that one little consideration in for your listeners so that they understand the context of these decisions.
Right. Well, nobody likes to see civilians slaughtered, and it's unfortunate that the various terrorist entities have established their military sites directly in range of hospitals, schools, and homes. But nevertheless, people also need to have it understood that these people, by and large, overwhelmingly support Hamas, and they support terrorism based on polls and surveys that have been done in the region. So if a population of over 70% to 80% of a population supports terrorism, then I guess they have to pay the consequences for that as well, or obviously seek to leave the Gaza Strip area. We have to move on. I want to real quick ask your comment on this before we end this segment. Brett Baer on Fox News, he has a show here in the United States every day called The Special Report. A few days ago, he came on the air on Special Report and said 7 Palestinians had been killed. He didn't provide any context. A Palestinian from the Gaza Strip who looked horrified that 7 Palestinians had been killed was interviewed by the Fox News correspondent. I was horrified because there was never a mention, never a word about the tons of humanitarian aid that Israel is trucking into the Gaza Strip. There's no mention, not a word, that the leader of Hamas actually snuck in, I believe it was his daughter or granddaughter, to have surgery inside Israel, knowing that was the one place where perhaps her life could be saved. Not a word that balloons that would target little children in Israel, incendiary balloons, had caused thousands of acres of land in southern Israel to be burned. Never a word about the terrorist strikes on children's schools and playgrounds. But Brett Baer, a Special Report on Fox News, said 7 Palestinians had been killed. The New York Times put out just the other day an article that was entitled "Cost of Botched Gaza Spy Mission, Israel's Back on the Brink of War." It's as if it's the fault of Israel that nearly 500 rockets from terrorist entities under the control of Hamas, where Hamas rules the day, it's somehow Israel's fault that people are being targeted, civilians are targeted, one has died, another officer in the IDF has been killed. Several people have been wounded, and men and women and children are suffering post-traumatic stress syndrome. Their lives are upside down. We hear about fires in California, but at least we don't have bombs raining down on Southern California and Northern California, causing the fires. Jeff, what do you say to this reporting, not just by the liberal media, but by Fox News? Real quick, we have just a couple minutes.
Okay, within a couple of minutes, you're absolutely correct, Denise. The problem is here that much of the reporting from these areas that say, like Syria, the Syrian Golan, facing the Israeli Golan, and all of the bad actors up there, and down south in Hamas, those reports do not include any context. In other words, they do not provide the reason or the provocations, if you will, for a lot of these incidents. For instance, Israel regularly teams with highly trained commando units that go into Gaza in order to ferret out information. Mm-hmm. It could be information like where these
rocket launchers
originate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these tunnels will go under the border between Gaza and Israel, and then they try to come up in Israeli civilian communities, but they have got to trace them very, very often. They will send these intelligence teams in. Yes, Israel has a technology that it has developed in order to detect a lot of these tunnels, not necessarily all intercept and blow up 9 out of 10 tunnels. Can you imagine again, if you will, Denice, if even one tunnel is successful and you have a group of Hamas terrorists emerging highly armed in one of these civilian communities? Can you imagine the amount of death and damage that they could wreak on these? Slaughter.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. It's slaughter.
It's
So
slaughter,
that's
slitting
one
the
of the
throats.
reasons.
Slitting the throats
Right,
of children in their beds.
The reason for this is because Brit Bear and others are not factoring into their calculus and into their reporting some of the antecedents, some of those events, some of those reasons that precede the insertion of these intelligence teams.
Right. Thank you, Jeff. I so appreciate your time. We've got to end this segment, but thank you again for taking the time. I know you had a really busy day. It's always jam-packed with all kinds of things that you have to attend to there as the director of the Zionist Organization of America in Jerusalem, Israel. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again very soon. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Denice.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song.
Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to legal matters, contact Barb Reynolds. She is a contract paralegal to lawyers and she will take good care of you. Moreover, she is a Kern County legal document assistant to pro per litigants. She has 47 years of paralegal experience and for over 30 years has been an educator in the field of law and paralegal work. If you need help handling your adoption, bankruptcy, civil suit, divorce, debt consolidation, evictions, immigration, or attorney referrals, contact Barb Reynolds if you want to win your case. Call Tehachapi Court Services today at 661-822-1994. Barb is simply the best. Call Tehachapi Court Services today at 661-822-1994.
I want to tell you about a place I love to go, Frugatti's Italian Restaurant. Very few locations here provide seating outside in front of a fabulous water fountain with an atmosphere that is reminiscent to me of eating outdoors in Venice. This is real Italian food by real Italians. And what makes it even more so is owner Ralph Frugoletti, who nearly a quarter century ago brought a wood fire oven from Milan, Italy to make, like his mother, fresh homemade bread and pizzas. Moreover, Frugatti's Restaurant offers you not only the very best in Southern Italian cooking, even importing the finest ingredients for authentic Italian food, including a fitness menu. After all, Ralph has represented the United States and Italy, competing in the Master Championship Games. He knows all the right food for good fitness, so check out the menu. After today's broadcast, run over to Frugatti's Italian Restaurant and Catering at 600 Coffee Road here in Bakersfield. And after a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday service, stop into Frugatti's for a great lunch. I'll see you there, and tell Mr. Ralph Frugoletti that Denice sent you. Salute. Bon appetito.
Ladies and gentlemen, the State Department on the attacks on Israel from the Gaza Strip, saying yesterday they stand with Israel, but Israel's going to need more than someone standing with her. Obviously, I hope that that report, that there's been a request sent out from the president or from members of the Trump administration to show restraint. I hope that's not the case. I know that certainly our government would not show restraint in the face of incoming rockets on our civilian population, on your family and mine. And this is deeply concerning, and we certainly don't want Israel to have to show restraint when it comes to defending their people from ongoing attacks. And this has been going on, these rocket attacks, since 2005, when under the Bush administration, Bush 43, George W., there was pressure put on Israel to remove itself from the Gaza Strip. And why, I don't understand that, other than Muslims kept saying, oh, land for peace, land for peace, land for peace. And every time Israel gives up an inch, it's used as a launch site to attack Israel. It was a miscalculation, a lot of miscalculations by Condoleezza Rice, who I know was pushing that agenda. And of course, George Bush 41, Bush the Elder, of course, allowed those Scud missiles, told Israel not to do a thing. Just let those Scud missiles land in Israel. Bush 41, whose Secretary of State at that time was James Baker III, who I've always wondered if he wasn't just a straight-up anti-Semitic person, based on things that he had said as Secretary of State. At any rate, the people of Israel was just asked to stand by as those Scud missiles rained down on Israel by Saddam Hussein during the Persian Gulf War. So anyway, I hope restraint is not a request. I certainly think that it should not be, and I think that Israel needs to go after. And of course, that's what I think many people are saying inside Israel. We've got to take out these terrorists who are the majority population in the Gaza Strip, and are looking to build more tunnels and launch more rockets and align themselves. They're aligned with Iran, and they're aligned with Al Qaeda. They're aligned with ISIS. We have ISIS elements in the Gaza Strip. I mean, it's wild there in the Gaza Strip, and it needs to be reined in. The terrorists need to be annihilated. And I was very sorry when Israel decided to just move every man, woman, and child out of the Gaza Strip. I just thought, why? Jews have been living in the Gaza since the time of Samson and Delilah. Yeah. Delilah cut his hair and he brought down the Philistines. I mean, Jews have been living from time immemorial in the Gaza Strip. And I don't know why Bush 43 and Condoleezza Rice felt they needed to push them out. But it certainly hasn't led to any peace, has it? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to call your attention to Prime Minister, or to Vice President Pence, Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence. He has been in Vietnam. Yesterday was in Vietnam, Indonesia today, in Burma today. He's also been in India today. Yesterday from Vietnam, he spoke about enhancing maritime security cooperation in the South China Sea. You say, why are we talking about this? Because I think that it's interesting and important that under Barack Hussein Obama, when he said that we needed to begin to pivot towards the East and towards China and begin to address security threats in the Pacific Ocean and in that part of the world, that he did not do it. He didn't do a lot of things, and it left the United States vulnerable. And now President Trump is rectifying and righting those wrongs. And I noticed that in all of the statements in the press releases, for example, in Vietnam, Vice President Mike Pence talks about enhancing maritime security cooperation in the South China Sea, sharing a free and open Indo-Pacific. In Indonesia, talked about Vice President Mike Pence talked about upholding freedom and navigation in the South China Sea, improving the humanitarian situation. increasing two-way trade, promoting shared principles. In India, talked about a free and open Indo, the subcontinent of India, speaking of the Indo-Pacific, the Indian Ocean there. The Vice President and Prime Minister Modi of India reaffirmed their commitment to strengthen security and counterterrorism cooperation. Remember, Pakistan is right there on India's border, and there have been a lot of terrorist attacks from the Muslims in Pakistan inside India. So talking about that, but again, securing the Indo-Pacific. Then in Burma today, this was the only country on his Asian tour in which securing the Indo-Pacific with respect to the threats from China was not addressed. As you may know, Burma has been involved in a war. There's tremendous human rights abuses there. Many refugees we've taken in from Singapore because they fled Burma, which is now referred to as Myanmar. They fled Burma, went into Singapore, lived in camps and tents for years. And of course, as I said, the United States has taken in that refugee population. But Vice President Pence is hitting all of the areas there in the Asia Pacific, and he's meeting and talking with the heads of state and working to help strengthen our alliances with those nations, that we can strengthen the alliance, because one never knows what China may ultimately decide to do, and that China may ultimately decide to do in cooperation with North Korea and Russia. Okay, I would like to say one other thing. I thought, and I'm going past my hour. I just thought Attorney General Matt Whitaker, he was appointed by Trump to take over Jeff Sessions' position as the Attorney General of the United States. So I was reading this article late last night, I don't know, around midnight. It was put out by Vox, V-O-X, Vox. And the name of it is called The Many Scandals of Trump's New Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker Explained. So Vox, that Brett Baer has had on Fox News' special report, Vox writes this article about these scandals associated with Trump hand-picked new acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker. And guess what he has done? This is so scandalous. It says that before joining the Justice Department in the fall of 2017, Whitaker was a harsh public critic of special counsel Robert Mueller. And he opined that the Trump campaign had not colluded with Russia, that there had been no obstruction of justice. And this is part of the many scandals. So on page 3 of the article, on page 4 of the article, Vox actually itemizes several of the sins that Matt Whitaker has done, because they want to take Matt Whitaker out. This is all I hear from the Democrats. Yesterday when I got home from my night class and I turned on the news, and it's all about slamming down, taking out, getting rid of Matt Whitaker, the temporary acting Attorney General, until one can be, of course, confirmed by the United States Senate. Listen to his terrible scandals. Matt Whitaker said that Trump made the right decision, quote unquote, by firing FBI Director James Comey, that Mueller's appointment as special counsel was ridiculous and a little fishy. Matt Whitaker also said once upon a time that Mueller investigating Trump's finances would be going too far. Another scandalous thing that Matt Whitaker said was that there was no criminal obstruction of justice charge to be had against Trump. And then another scandal surrounded a statement by Matt Whitaker that the truth is there was no collusion with the Russians and the Trump campaign. Then he made another scandalous these are the scandals. This is what the Democrats, this is Democrats' propaganda. This is the propaganda by the Democrats to get rid of, to impeach Trump's appointment. Just like they're going after Brett Kavanaugh now on the Supreme Court, and why they want to go after every member of the Trump administration, including President Trump himself. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but one other sin or crime or scandal that Matt Whitaker committed was that an article headlined, "Note to Trump's lawyer, lynch mob." So apparently he wanted people to read this article and said, "Note to Trump's lawyer, do not cooperate with the Mueller lynch mob," and told, I guess, an individual it was a worthy read. Scandals. That's right. These were the many scandals of Matt Whitaker. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Craig Jansen from Sculpt 365 Fitness. Ladies and gentlemen, before you get fatter and fatter, it's time to get down there to the gym, Sculpt 365. He's right there on Brimway and Callaway, Brimhall and Callaway in Bakersfield. Give him a call at 679-7116. I'll say that again slower. 679-7116. Sculpt 365 Fitness. Get in shape. We all need to get in shape. There's another physical fitness gymnasium available for you on Chester Avenue at 4128 Chester Avenue. Give them a call at 323-5940. And there's another facility up in Tehachapi on Sage. Ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Craig's such a great guy. He's a Navy veteran, served in the United States Navy during the Gulf War. Let's support his businesses. And this is something I believe very strongly in, is supporting those who are willing to risk life and limb on behalf of keeping America free. So let's give Craig Jansen the business at Sculpt 365 Fitness. You can check him out on his website. Real quick update on Asia Bibi. Please also pray for her and her family. Asia Bibi now is expected to remain in Pakistan until her case is heard again. Mind you, she was acquitted of the charge of blasphemy, but the Prime Minister was so fearful of the Muslim riots on the streets by the masses that he decided to, quote, have a review of the appeal process. You know, I thought it was horrific. I shared out yesterday that so far the United Kingdom, this is Great Britain, has denied Asia Bibi asylum. She's asking for, her family's begging for asylum. I don't know why the Catholic Church, I don't know why the Pope himself that met with Asia Bibi's husband and daughter, can't they provide shelter in the Vatican? I mean, what's going on there? You know, the Pope's supposed to be, you know, he's a liberal progressive, and he's supposed to, you know, we Republicans, I always say we Republicans are far more compassionate and understanding and caring than any liberal progressive. I mean, he shook their hand, but what is he actually doing? And what is the Pope actually doing? You know, London is so worried about the Muslims in London, England. They've got an ISIS-supporting preacher there from Pakistan, Pakistani descent, who's very free and very comfortable. And having ISIS-supporting preachers walking the streets of England, but you can't have a poor Pakistani Christian woman who offered to drink water or drank water from a well that Muslims say they owned. And of course, because this poor woman was a Christian, she is guilty of being unclean. And now, of course, she has contaminated the well, the communal well. And so now the entire well is considered haram, which means it's forbidden by Islamic law for Muslims to drink from, because my gosh, a Christian drank from the well. So London, England, they've got Islamists walking on their streets, but they can't give freedom to a poor Christian woman and her husband and children. That's pathetic. Really pathetic. Where is the Western world that's supposed to stand up for what is right and virtuous, for our Judeo-Christian principles that are rooted in the First Amendment of the Constitution? Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of association, right? It's unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Ken Hetke. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken and Della Hetke, they have a fabulous business called Recover Your Cub there at Tehachapi Municipal Airport. Give them a call at 661-822-2827. They can completely restore the fabric covering of any and every plane. They do aircraft maintenance, total restoration of your antique, vintage airplane. Give them a call, fly up, say hello, find out what they can do for you. They're wonderful people. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the Denice Gary Show. You can also find us on iTunes. You can also find us on SoundCloud. You can find us here every day at Kerncast at 5 p.m. On Facebook. Be sure you can always visit the Denice Gary Show Facebook page. Go visit Strategic Solutions Facebook page, and we've got myself up on the YouTube channel now, the Denice Gary Show on YouTube. So check us out, share it around. Let's spread the word, and let's help influence and inform people throughout the state of California and around the country and around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Again, have a blessed and wonderful evening. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Thursday for the Denice Gary Show.
Thank you for listening to the Denice Gary Show. Intelligent Talk Media.